by the way, Phil, I read an article that my friend here wrote just before the program. The man couldn't get 10 words into the article without having to use a word that I can't say.
You mean dirty words?
That's right.
I would as soon ride in a vehicle with somebody that had smoked a joint than somebody that had been sitting in a bar all day. And you know what? It's legal. And
I think, Phil, what you're seeing is a very good example about the irrationality which was behind this initiative. Nobody seems to want to address the issue. Nobody, everybody wants to talk about how good or bad pot is. I don't care. I don't want the government in my living room, in my bedroom. I don't want the cops to have the right to break down my door or my neighbor's door because somebody thinks they're smelling pot.
We have more people in jail right now per capita than any other nation in the world.
This is an excuse for a police state. The war on drugs has become a war against the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Please, back here.
The paranoid are out to get us.
Let this young woman make her point. Thank you, one and all.
we have to have a starting point. And the whole deal is we're talking about alcohol is bad, cigarettes are bad. Why do we need another harmful drug?
Yes. But the point is passing laws against it, obliging an already overworked police department to go in and stamp out what is essentially our own personal decision and our sin and something that's going to influence our bodies.
And that's another thing, that if you're an addict, you have to have consequences. That's a part of enabling. If we don't have consequences, they're not going to realize they have a problem. My point is that I have small children, and I choose not to smoke pot, but I don't feel that they should illegalize it. Everyone's going to do it anyway. I feel that it is a right for people to do whatever it is they want to do as long as it doesn't cause any harm to other people within their own homes. That's what this country was built.
Mr. Donahue, I raised teenagers in Anchorage, Alaska in the 80s. My son was smoking at 12. There was nothing that the law said or did that could have changed his attitude towards smoking pot. I personally have called the Drug Enforcement Agency. I know of crack dealers here in Anchorage. I have called many, many times. They tell me to go in and make a buy because the police cannot keep up with the DWI, the alcohol, and the marijuana.
Your position is what?
My position is I'm not in favor of smoking marijuana. I'm not in favor of legalizing it. I'm not in favor of making it right to come into a home and arrest somebody that chooses to be responsible for their own right to smoke. I don't use it.
Well, you don't want the cops going into arrest.
No.
You're against the criminalization.
That's right. I think the criminalization law is doing absolutely nothing except overworking a police force when here in Alaska we are turning criminals out. We are turning criminals out.
Let me show you what the former drug czar, and why did he quit? William Bennett came to Alaska during the middle of this campaign, and this is what he said to you.
And I just do not think, and I'll tell you, I was the education secretary too, and given the performance of American education, the last thing I think we need is to make a drug that makes people stupid legal and more accessible.
Louis Armstrong smoked pot every day of his life. He's the greatest trumpet player America ever produced. Is he stupid?
No,
I mean,
wait a minute.
This Louis calling is getting us nowhere.
This is an example.
Alcohol and tobacco are legal. I have a right, if I don't want alcohol and tobacco, to smoke pot. I'll live 20 years longer if I smoke pot instead of drinking and smoking tobacco. The government can't tell me that I have to die because of their laws.
Yes, I've got a break here. I got a break. You understand that, being a talk show host yourself. And we'll be back to Anchorage, Alaska. This audience would like those watching to know something they probably already do, and that is that there's more than sin and doing bad things to your body and giving bad messages to your kids. Yeah, let's go over it one more time. Drinking martinis and beer gives bad messages to your kids. Now, wait a minute. We should at least give a respectful bow to those who are concerned about privacy issues in America at a time when the evening news, we've got cops breaking doors down, and we've got people standing there in their underwear. You better make sure you're dressing well from the bottom up, because you may be on the evening news. Are you concerned about what appears to be a rootin' tootin' shootin' disregard for the Constitution as America tries to deal in a military way with its drug problem? You wanted to say, Mr. Boyko, sir.
The Anchorage Bar Association, a group of professional lawyers, after listening to Senator Fritz Pettyjohn and others debate the issue prior to the election, voted unanimously. Can you imagine a bunch of lawyers agreeing totally on something? They voted unanimously to oppose this thing because it would lead to selective law enforcement. It would lead to
they wanted to keep the liberal pot law.
Yes, sir. Yes, not because they favored pot. I don't favor pot. I'm against all drugs. But I think when you pass laws of this kind, all you do is encourage people to be lawbreakers and scofflaws and have contempt for the law.
Yeah, over here.
I think that we need to be very, very careful about what we do in regard to privacy. I don't smoke pot. I have a smoke-free, drug-free home. However, if the majority of the people or the legislature decide that my Bible isn't appropriate, are they going to break down my door and take that too?
I just would like to ask these nice drug users out there if they're going to stay in their own home and do their drugs in their own home, can they absolutely guarantee that if someone outside needs their help, that they can, in their state of mind, go help another person and do a responsible thing?
They want to know why isn't the same question appropriate for alcohol abuse?
Phil, the same question, absolutely, without any discussion, the same question is appropriate to alcohol, but we're not talking here about alcohol. Why not?
I think that alcohol and marijuana need to be opposed, if any.
But not turned into
I just want to
crime.
make sure that the people that are doing their drugs and doing it in their home stay in their home and away from my children and school.
The kids are just going to rebel against it anyway, though. I mean, the more you say not to do this, they're going to want to do it.
Because it's naughty to do.
I mean,
Well, then, should everything be legal? Should there be absolutely no restraint on individual behavior? Because if you put a restraint on behavior, you're going to encourage people to engage in that behavior. That's
What about a freedom
nonsensical.
of choice? I mean, there's a seatbelt law, there's a helmet law, there's abortion law. What about a freedom of choice?
Well, I think if you want to change the law, then you got to start by enforcing the old law, and then you got to start by reduction methods in the future years if you ever want to turn it around, because you can't just stop it to a whole...
They agree.
Rumor has it, Phil,
Yes,
that
I'd like to address this
Senator Pettyjohn wants to make sex illegal because it leads to pregnancy. It's also addictive. It's also addictive for some people. Fortunately, I'm too old to be a...
Hang on, Edgar.
A first grader that I babysat came home the other day and told me that her father was smoking drugs. Come to find out, I know he does not use drugs. Come to find out that school teachers had misguided them and told them that smoking cigarettes was using drugs, which it is in a way, but I believe that they need a different way to approach it.
You all speak of freedom of choice, but you're the one that recriminalized it. You guys voted for it. What are you guys talking about here?
Phil, you know, there's the one thing I'd like to address is this fallacious argument about if they don't like my Bible, will they outlaw it? That insults every ability of a human being to realize that somewhere along the line there is a point at which things become ridiculous, and some of us know where that point is.